What is a shell reading?
A shell reading is because they possess a language. If a person is attracted to certain shells or even bothered by certain shells, what it's doing is connecting with one's hidden thoughts and hidden feelings. It's a psychological tool. So that if you're sitting here and you know about conscious Barbara, you may have hidden thoughts you're not aware of, but they still impact your life. So the importance of knowing that information that is operating behind the scenes is you have no control over what you're doing when it's behind the scenes and you're on automatic pilot. If it's brought to your awareness, if anything is no longer serving you, then you're empowered and you have the opportunity to change those thoughts. And we create from our thoughts. If you change a thought, then you would reshape what you create. Mm-hmm. And therefore, that would impact your future.
When you were here before, I believe, did we do it on the air, or did I do that when I came to your home?
No, your cameraman picked a couple of shells on the air, but you had come to the home originally where I had 500 shells.
Before we did the show?
Yes.
So I could scope out
kind of see what it was about.
Right, and you had me select my favorite?
No, you were looking in the cabinets and there was one shell, that's all you were drawn to. That's what amazed me, that you had 500 shells to look at. And you just kept looking at this one shell and said, I just have to know about this. You weren't planning on having a reading.
Right.
And that's when we got into a conversation about that particular shell. And that led to a reading, because then you wanted more information.
A reading meaning you told me things about myself that
yes.
you knew from that shell.
Exactly, because I look at it as your hidden thoughts are being revealed by the shells that are attracting you. And so it's you speaking to you. I'm just the interpreter.
What was that shell I was interested in?
You were interested in something called the janthana. It's a purple shell, and I was explaining to you that the animal that makes that shell lives far from shore on the surface of the ocean, and it can't swim.
And I can't
And you're going to the beach tomorrow, and you can't swim. And then I said, but to compensate, because how does it live on the surface of the ocean if it can't swim? It uses mucus. Mollusks, if anyone sees a snail outside and they think they're slimy, well, that mucus is magical if you're a mollusk. And in this case, they cement air bubbles together and they build a raft. And they spend their whole life floating on the raft. And if they're dislodged, they will drown. So their survival depends on clinging to the bubbles. And to me, that's someone clinging to a fantasy, like in their little bubble. And then I told you the animal is blind.
Yeah, I remember that very distinctly.
And you were very kind to tell me that you also have one eye that's blind.
Right.
So I felt like I was talking to a human janthana that day.
And I remember the experience and the purple, but I never could remember what the name of it was, the janthana.
Janthana, but you may prefer the name in the children's books. It's called the Purple Sailor.
Oh, I like that.
That's easy.
Yeah, I like that. And why did you bring us this beautiful statue here? There must be some significance to that.
Well, if the camera can see, she is listening to a shell.
Oh, okay. I did not notice that, but there we go. Okay, yeah. And we've all done that.
And exactly, that's what I want people to think about when you were young. For no reason whatsoever, almost everyone has had that experience of holding a shell to their ear. Your instinct was telling you they had something to say. And all I'm trying to do is say, your instincts were right, and let me just expand upon that a little bit more.
And the samples you brought us are so beautiful. Okay, yes, tell us about this little guy.
That is called a harp shell. And the amazing thing about the harp is its foot is maybe 4 times the size of that shell. It's huge. And a crab would be looking at that like dinner for weeks. Look at all that meat. So the crab comes after the harp. They have the ability to detach a little bit of their foot, like a salamander drops its tail. Well, that keeps the crab preoccupied, and the harp could get away. But sometimes it chooses instead to use mucus, another reason I say it's magical. It'll mix the mucus with sand and coat the crab, and the crab is oblivious because he's munching on that little piece of foot, till all of a sudden the crab can't move. He eats the crab. He completely turns the tables. And that's what it means in divination. You can completely turn the tables. Mm-hmm.
If I were to select one from this table, just what you have on this table, I would like that one.
This
but
one?
I don't know if I like the explanation that I turn on them and eat them.
It just means that you're going to be capable of turning. Oh, but I did mention that little bit of foot.
Right.
You can turn the tables, but it takes a little bit of a sacrifice.
Uh-huh.
That's that little piece of foot.
Sacrifice that piece. Okay.